we would like to thank you to everyone tonight for joining this session. And we would like to also introduce later our team who will be the main facilitators for tonight. I would like to also announce that for tonight's session, we will be using English as our main language as we also see that the diversity of nationalities of the participants who are joining the session tonight. If you have any questions in Indonesia, please, it's okay. You can type it in the Q&A panel. Jadi teman-teman, selamat malam. Terima kasih untuk bergabung dalam sesi Zoom pada malam hari ini. Memang nanti main language yang akan kita pakai adalah Inggris karena diversity dari nationality yang mengikuti sesi pada malam hari ini. Kalau teman-teman lebih senang menggunakan bahasa Indonesia, tidak apa-apa. Silahkan bisa ditaruh di dalam panel Q&A. Yeah, so thank you very much. For all the main questions related to the session, please do ask and type it in the Q&A panel throughout the session. For those questions unrelated to the main session, you can use the chat panel to interact also with other participants. So what will you expect in this session tonight? So tonight, what we will be discussing, number one, is of course, what is actually data-driven culture? And then how do we create data-driven culture? Number three is about the capability of the team. How do you make the number one team in a data-driven culture? And then the last one is optional. This is e-certificate. If you are interested for receiving the e-certificate, please do so by clicking, I will send this to the chat by clicking this link. Okay, so this is just, if you guys are interested further in getting the e-certificate, I will send all of the details inside the chat, so you guys can type the link here, and then after that you can sign up inside the link, then click on the e-certificate participation, check out, and then choose the payment option. We have a variety of payment options using iPayMove. And then number two is manual transfer. Okay, so I will be also running through all of these details at the end of the session. If you guys are interested in having the e-certificate, I've already sent the link in the chat, so you guys can already see how the e-certificate is done. And this is the e-certificate that you will get. So after the payment, you will immediately receive your e-certificate in your email. So this is, if you guys have any questions related to the e-certificate, please ask us through at info@houseofanalytics.com.
Okay, let's start. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah. Yeah, is it? Okay, so let's. Is it equal, Tasha?
A bit unclear. Sorry, Sally.
Wait, yeah. I'm not sure why it's echo here. Okay, so let me try again. So is it okay now?
Yes.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Sally Taher. So if you can see here, I become tonight I will be the SME subject matter expert. I also will be a moderator. I'm a co-founder of Red and White Consulting Partners LLP. So House Analytics actually is the is the collective of smart millennials. Yeah, and before they established the company of House of Analytics, they were consultant in Red and White Consulting Partners. So the experience that they're going to share here is based on their own work, helping Red and White Consulting. But starting last year, the three of them have successfully built their own companies. Okay, so now is let's start with HOA. Let's go to here. Yeah, nanti Tasha, Sarah, and also Sean, you can introduce yourself. But this one is the project portfolio of the Building an Analytics Driven Organization. There are 5 companies that we built together. Is not only the target operating model that we help them, we also have a pilot project with these 4 companies. Yeah, different companies has a different pilot project that we run for them. Some of them run for 3 months, some of them run for 6 months, and some of them run even until today. Yes, it's already more than 1 year. Okay, so maybe I can start with Tasha first. Tasha is the founder of House of Analytics. Yeah. Also, please, Tasha, share about what is House of Analytics, and then introduce
Okay.
yourself.
Okay, thank you, Sally. So, House of Analytics, we call ourselves an analytics innovation lab. Why analytics innovation lab? Because we focus on extracting insights from business. So we always, when we engage with the client, we always ask them, so what is actually the symptom that you have right now, that you feel? Because the number one thing that we will do is we want to be able to understand the problem, because at the end of the day, they will have to make a decision. They will have to improve the organization, and doing that requires problem solving. And doing this problem solving requires problem framing and creative thinking. So that's why innovation is needed to do problem solving. So that's why we call ourselves an analytics innovation lab. So it's like a lab where we try different things every time we engage with the new client, because we try to fit the recommendation to their problems. It's not a one size fits all. We don't believe in one size fits all, because we believe every problem is unique, and thus every recommendation should be unique.
Okay, thank you, Tasha. Now, please introduce yourself.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Anastasia. You can call me Tasha. Actually, a lot of the projects that I do requires what we usually call an analysis of the mind of the people. We call it human capital analytics. So what we usually do is that we improve decision making related to people. So for example, from how do we promote, how do we even hire the right people, how do we find the role model of the best people. And that is my specialty. From the perspective of the building an analytics driven organization, we do encounter a lot of projects where they ask us, hey, can you help us in a pilot project where we want to have a better decision making for the people? And that's where I come in. We help them. How do we, let's say, hire the right people, building the right people, building the capabilities of the right people?
Okay, thank you, Tasha. Maybe before Sean, I would like to introduce Sarah. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Sally. Hello, everyone.
Okay, introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Sarah. I have been working with House of Analytics for a year, or a little bit more than a year, actually. So, based on Tasha's explanation, is that House of Analytics not only give you a solution, but we're trying to find the root cause of the problems, because sometimes what you think you feel is not the actual problem. So myself here is an innovation strategist with the House of Analytics. I also help them in doing consultation works for for other organizations or corporate. My background literally has no connection with data analytics or design thinking and so on and so forth. So for all of you who are just here to listen to us or to get new knowledge, you don't have to be afraid, because this topic today is actually very, very useful, and you can use it for all of the aspects in your work.
Okay, thank you. And then Sean.
Hi everyone. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining today's session. For Tasha, she's mainly in human capital analytics, and for Sarah, she's also into the business. Whereas for me, my analytics background are mostly and mainly in the financial as well as in the business. So what's unique to my experience is basically I started off in economics and finance, as well as doing some investment banking, as well as private equity work, such as doing valuation, okay, like comparative models or DCFs, where then I also wanted to learn more and then expand my knowledge beyond financial and actually go into the world of business analytics, where instead of just investing, we actually try and use the data that is available to us and make solutions and solve problems.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Okay, so everyone, so we tonight, as we're going to discuss about analytics-driven company or organization. Let me start with the basic of what is actually analytics-driven company or organization. Just for the first 10 or 15 minutes, and then after that, I'm going to ask some question to Tasha, Sean, and also Sarah, because they're really doing it in the field. They meet the client and they also build analytics function for the client that we already presented to you. And so I think it's better for them to share what they have done so far. Yeah. So let me start from the foundation. So the companies will need to re-engineer decision making to become more analytics driven. So what is that? I think everyone here has heard about, it's analytics, data, big data, and then we must have a team that has capability to convert data into insight, and then and provide some kind of strategic decision to the management. Yeah. So whether we like it or not, I think decision making or data driven decision making has to be in the blood of the company. So why is that? Let me show you something here. So data analytics decision. If you look at on the left, data, what is data? So I think all companies, whether it's big or small or even medium size, they all have data. From the business data, people data, and also operation data, customer data, everything is all about data. So it's all here on the left. But the raw data is not about information, it's not about analytics. If we have capability to restructure the data, then we call it analytics. But the analytics will turn up to be report if we don't know how to convert the analytics into decision. So from data to analytics and then become a reporting, actually what we need is data scientists. But from analytics to decision, what we need is decision science. So converting data into insight, into action or decision. Yeah. Okay. So what we want to share tonight is not about how to collect data, or how to restructure the data or how to clean up the data. No, what we want to share, how can we convert analytics to decision through the organization. Okay, so data-driven culture here, we make better decision faster and improve business outcome. Okay, that's the key. So data-driven culture will lead to data-driven decision making. So what is data-driven culture? Data-driven culture actually is the concept of a culture, yeah, treats data and analytics as the main resource for leveraging symptom, problem, and insight. For those who attended our session last Tuesday, we talk about symptom, problem, and insight. And these things are very, very important for us to understand what the differences are. And after we build data-driven culture, it is very easy for the organization to move towards data-driven decision-making, where the company actually interested in their numbers, extent of the data used is exercised at a higher level to make data-driven decision-making. Yeah. The next one. So for those who are in the company, or let's say in one of the big organization, there are 4 indicators to analyze whether our unit or our function or even department have already an analytics driven culture. Indicator number 1, infusing analytics into the decision making process. For this one, we can tell from the meeting. Are we using data to make decision? Are we using analytics or insight to provide some kind of symptom or problem? And number 2, we can find out a causal link between what companies measure and the outcome. So there is one very important quote. If we cannot measure it, yeah, we cannot measure it, we cannot improve it. So in this case, the company with analytics driven, they should be able to measure and they should be able to improve. The indicator number 3 is company reacts to insight faster and speed the pace of the business. And indicator number 4, the company actually have organized and governed the analytics capabilities across the organization. They know who's going to sponsor the analytics team. They know how to lead the analytics team. They know how to do funding for the analytics team. And they also have governance. So these 4 indicators can be used as your guidance actually to value your culture. Okay. Now, how to build the analytics-driven organization? There are 5 steps. I will share with you one by one. But the most, I'm going to just share a little bit faster from step 1 to step 3, and then also 5. And I'm going to start asking questions to the House of Analytics about step number 4, which is build a solid analytics team. So let me start with step 1. Step 1, how to build analytics-driven organization. Leaders must take the first step. So CEO, directors, GM, even maybe department head, unit head, must take the first step to build a data-driven culture. How? When it comes to the meeting, these 3 levels at least, they must ask about data and insight. Where is the insight? And it has to be proven by the data. Okay? The second one is more strategic decisions should be backed with data. Cannot be like, okay, according to A, according to Mr. B, according to Mrs. C. So that kind of decision or that kind of insight or information actually is not backed with data. So this is the only way actually to know you're heading in the right direction. And the third one, leaders have initiated an analytics project. Let's say, if you are in the bank, we can have, okay, why don't we create a customer segmentation or customer persona? Can we take a look at customer segmentation based on profitability, financial analytics? can we analyze the revenue growth versus the expense growth? Can we analyze the percentage of, let's say, operating expense growth in the past 2 years? Talent analytics, who's going to be promoted? Who's going to be participating in the talent mobility? And then who's going to be part of the community, who's going to be part of the executive leadership program, for example? That one is a talent analytic. Step number 2, shift mindset and embrace change. To start the analytics-driven organization, please find the right people to be selected as an agent of change. Who are they? I can ask Tasha after this, yeah, Tasha, the criteria of agent of change. So what are we going to do with the agent of change? We should empower them to lead transformational project, and then also encourage them to analyze the data. Of course, it has to be routine, and also develop question of observation. The last one is we also need to prepare next generation of leadership to change the company culture. Okay, so we stop here, Tasha. Agent of change.
That's true. Okay.
What is that?
So basically, an agent of change is your ambassadors in your company. These are the people who you can groom in the future to become the future leader. But how do they become the leader? Of course, we must be able to see their potential. How can we see their potential? Usually in the company, we do a lot of training, we do a lot of learning and development programs. Through these programs, we are able to track and see and monitor the scores and performance of each of their learning and development journey. So what is the criteria for agent of change? Number 1, they should be able to have a leadership quality, high leadership quality. Number 2, they should be able to have high persuasion. It means that they can lead, they can communicate. And number 3 is about having independent mind. What is independent mind? Independent mind is the ability of a person who can already form their own opinion, have strong opinion, have critical opinion on delivering, and also on having a critical mindset. So they don't just follow the crowd. They have formed a very critical opinion of things. They don't just, oh, people say A, I have to follow A. No, they will review, they will critique, then they will make a decision. So 3, number 1, high leadership quality. Number 2, high persuasion. Number 3, high independent mind.
Thank you, Tasha. Okay, let's go to step number 3. So step number 3 is actually about building a one central data repository, which is in the form in the format of data warehouse. So actually the data warehouse is also very important. But the thing is, if we want to build data warehouse, it has to be supported by the top. We cannot just simply building a data warehouse without objective or without having a long-term goals that we are going to have an analytics team or even analytics project. Yeah, so this is why it is very important to have a one dedicated unit to collect and extract the data. So why 1? Why not 2? Why not 3? Why not 4? It is very important if we want to connect the dot between the business and also the people. Everything has to be integrated into one. This is why the analytics team that you should plan to build actually should be able to connect between people, process, and also profitability, or maybe business in this case. Yeah, so this is about the data warehouse. The data warehouse actually also responsible to ensure the consistency in the tracking and also data consolidation, and also can help analytics team to get insight. Okay, step number 4, actually build a solid analytics team. This is very important. When I was in the Citibank for from 1996 to 2013, analytics team has been there for so many years, and they have a solid reporting line to the consumer business and also up to the global. So the analytics teams here might be a champion to reinforce data-driven culture, and they're also responsible for building and maintaining the data warehouse, and also can provide support to other departments, structuring, understanding data, up to providing business insight. So analytics team must be the right hand of the management. Is not provide the analytics team is not providing report. Analytics team has to provide insight and decision in order for the management to take action. Okay, step number 5, the last step, data driven decision making. So after we do step number 1, 2, 3, and 4, then companies will need to re-engineer decision making in business unit function to become more analytics driven. They also need to build some kind of governance about data security, about the operating model, and then also using descriptive, predictive, prescriptive analytics into decision making process. Okay, so now we can have discussion about this. Okay, when we have to build a solid analytics team, maybe I will start with Sean first, yeah? Sean, there is a number here, 20%, that knowledge has to be shared and also learned by the analytics team. And we can see here that the team must understand extracting business value through data analytics, innovative thinking, introduction to coding, and then it seems like it's a general knowledge here. Why do you think that the knowledge here is 20%? Is quite significant. Why do you think that they don't start with coding?
Okay, so even though knowledge is only 20% and it is still quite important, many people think that when it comes to analytics, they should start with the data. They should start with the coding, how to use Python, how to use statistics to analyze the data as well. While that is also important to try and find insights from the data, what's actually more important, and I think this is going for every function, is understanding your own business. And so knowledge in this particular context is more about the business knowledge as well as the business experience. What is actually going on in the company? How does the company make decision? What are the objectives of the company? These kind of knowledge are the ones that might be people might think it's straightforward, but actually every business is different. And at the same time, even though if it's in the same industry, every business have different objectives, have different culture, have different understanding of their products, right? And here the knowledge, as you can see, we always start from the introduction as the analytics function or people will have to be able to convert all the different data in the company. That includes financial data, human resource data, business data, sales, marketing, even down to the risk management data, such as credit scoring, all those things, to actually report or even give recommendation to the BOD as well as the CEO. So that's why in the introductory courses or in the classes, we start with the business value through data analytics. Basically, why is data important in the business context? And secondly, we go to innovative thinking, and then we try to understand how do we make solution. And then at the same time, if we go looking through coding, digital economy. These are more the supplementary, but we always start from the context for knowledge.
Okay. Okay. So thank you, Sean. So for knowledge is 20%. And then we can move on to soft skill now. Okay. For this one, I would like to ask Tasha. Yeah, Tasha, soft skill is 30%. So
Yes.
yeah, it seems like, it's a mind mapping. What is that mind mapping? And then, design thinking, selling your idea. Are you going to sell, or why it has to be like champion attitude? This is building analytics team, loh, Tasha.
Okay.
Why this
So
is important?
so bear in mind that as we have explained about the how do we build this and why we built an analytics driven organization. Number one is, of course, we want to be problem solvers, and then number two, we want to be able to have the same mindset of problem solving with everyone, and that requires you to sell your ideas, that requires you to do better communication. So number one, on problem solving, mind mapping here is used as a tool to help us do problem framing. So what is problem framing? It's basically we're tracing the process of why do these things happen in our organizations. We want to be able to understand deeper what is it that is wrong in our organization, and mind mapping helps us that. So mind mapping is actually like, if you guys can Google mind map, it's like branches of trees. So there will be many branches of the trees, where in each of the branches we will be able to map down what are some of the problems that the company face, and that helps us to trace what is exactly happening. And then why design thinking? So we talk about innovation. After we've traced the problem, we understand the problem, we have to be able to think outside the box. And design thinking helps that. How to give the best recommendation, how to have a creative thinking, selling your idea, and champion attitude. And these two refers to my number 2 point about having you to sell your idea and having the same mindset of problem solving. So inside the organization, you have to be able to push through that this is a real problem and it needs to be solved. How do you gather the people to understand your line of thought? You have to be able to explain the data. You have to be able to explain to the people, this is the problem and this is how I prove it. And selling your idea and champion attitude helps you in delivering that.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Tasha. There is a one question I would like to ask Sarah here, visual analytics. I heard that some of the analysts are able to create a presentation with a very fancy chart, yeah. But
Yes.
the challenge here is like, after putting all the graph, all the colors with a very nice structure, and they don't know how to tell the story, right? So data storytelling, what do you think about data storytelling, Sarah?
Okay, so basically, data storytelling and visual analytics has to go hand in hand. Hand in hand. Why? Because the objective of making a presentation, making a visualization, or making a story out of your data is to make people understand what you are trying to say. If you don't have the story, the things you are saying will go all over the place. Like you start with point 1 and then you go to point 10, point 7, 6, 5, 4. It's not in one order. Storytelling helps you and helps the audience as well, so they can understand your point from A to Z in an orderly manner. But at the same time, sometimes storytelling is not enough. You also need help from visual analytics, so you will be able to deliver your points or your analysis properly, and the audience would be able to understand what are you trying to say.
Okay, thank you. So now I also would like to ask you about the hard skill. Okay,
Yes.
so I heard that if you want to be a good analyst, the first thing that you need to learn is coding. Yeah, is that
Okay.
correct? Why here is Excel?
Okay. So, uh, I guess, or I think all of us already learned about Excel since elementary school, or maybe when we were still in school. We learned how to do if function and this and that on Excel. But what we were learning back in school was actually basic Excel. There are so much functions that we don't really know unless we go deeper on Excel. We can actually create a simple modeling using Excel and prediction on Excel, simulation on Excel even. So here, why we put the basic Excel and Excel first and then Python or coding at the last is that actually Excel is a very, very useful statistic tool. However, even though Excel is a very useful tool, some it also has some limitations like how many rows or how big of the data, and the speed of processing of Excel is less superior than coding or Python. However, your tools of analysis should be aligned with your purpose. So if you are only trying to make a financial simulation, for example, and the data is only 3 months long, you don't really need to learn about the coding or about the Python, because you can do that using Excel, and it's more accessible, and let's say it's more familiar to most of the people. But if you want to process a large data, or like we like to say, it's a big data, like you want to process a banking data, you want to analyze the customer transaction for the past 2 years, then you need a more powerful tool such as Python, and you can do that by using coding. So whatever tools that you're planning to use, it has to be aligned with your purpose and objective of the analysis.
I see. For example, if let's say one of the participant here is own a company or a retailer, let's say, yeah,
Yes.
a
Yeah.
retailer business with thousands of retailers and also let's say 10,000 of sales, and they want
Yes.
to measure the productivity and
Mm-hmm.
by analyzing the KPI. Of course, the KPI of sale is very simple. How much sales that they can achieve, right? Every month or let's say every year. Do you think that we have to master Python, or is just basic and advanced statistic using Excel?
If we only want to understand the productivity for, let's say, the past 6 months, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's enough that we use Excel. But if we want to expand the analysis, like such as we want to see using current data, what will be the productivity of our sales in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years?
Or prediction.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's say we need to do prediction based on the productivity. Then it would be better if you use coding or Python, because it's a more powerful tool, and it has more functions in terms of technicality.
I see. Okay. Okay. So actually that the if we want, so if I can summarize, if we just want to do analysis as of today, then we can use Excel, right? Or advanced
Yeah.
analysis use Excel. But when it comes to prediction, then and managing a lot of large data, then it has to be supported by Python.
Yes,
Huh?
correct.
Okay. Sean, what about Tableau? Why Tableau? What can we learn from mastering Tableau?
Okay, so usually when you want to present data or even analysis, sometimes you want to see it in real time as well as making it interactive. Whenever you analyze data and whenever you find an insight from the data that you analyze, usually we always think of PowerPoint to present those data. However, if you want to make a dashboard and at the same time when you want to have it in real time and making it more interactive, where they can improve the understanding, it's better to use Tableau, where you can even make the tooltip where we can see it in terms of the map of a country, where we can see, let's say, if a company is has expanded to different regions in a country, and then we want to see how well the company is doing in those different regions. We can then do a heat map with a Tableau, and then we can see which regions are doing well and which regions are not doing well in terms of their business performance. So for Tableau, it's very, very easy. At the same time, it can be very customized. And when you want to have a dashboard or even real-time um, KPI and monitoring, Tableau is basically the software for a lot of organization to use.
Okay, and it is also easier for data storytelling.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you. So the last the next two slide is about journey and also capability. For journey, I will ask Sarah based on her experience, and then the last slide is capability is going to be shared by Tasha. So let me ask about the journey dulu ya, Sarah. So you have done a lot of project, yeah. And if let's say you were new, let's say you were new in the analytics team of one of the companies you just picked, okay, what would you do as an analyst? Why do you think we have to analyze and then data gathering? Why not starting with data first? Can I have the data? Can I have the data? Why you have to analyze first and then followed by data gathering and then come up with a business strategy?
Okay, so I think Tasha mentioned this earlier in the beginning of presentation. There is this one thing we call problem framing, where is that when we find that something is wrong within the company or within the environment of the work, the things we feel is not the problem actually. The things we feel, whether we're happy or sad, or we see that, you know, our customer is decreasing, we see a lot of loyal customer that were with us for the past 10 years, suddenly they take up their account and leave, go to other bank or buy different stuff than they usually do. That is actually not a problem. It's a symptom or the things that we feel. The problem is something entirely different, such as maybe what you feel is that the customers are leaving, which is the symptom, but the problem are actually the customer service we provide is not good enough that they feel disappointed and leave. That is the problem. And differentiating between problem and symptom is something we call problem framing, which can be done using analysis of the current situation. The analysis here, maybe some of you think that, oh, analysis, I have to create a coding, I have to use Excel and so on and so forth. But sometimes the analysis can also mean that you go to the field and then you interview a lot of people that is involved in the problem or feel the same thing as you do, see from a different perspective than you, and you usually see it. That is what we also call as analysis. After we get a hint or after we understand what is actually going on using the analysis process, then we gather the data. Why didn't we start with data gathering? Because if we start with data gathering, we will never stop doing data gathering because data is everywhere. You go to the bank, you go to the mall, you go to Tokopedia, for example, to shop, there are a lot of data like customer data, this month shopping data, this month spending data, this month income data, so many data. If you start with data gathering, there will be a lot of data, and then you will you will feel like so many data, I'm confused, I don't know what to do. And then you will do whatever the data says you to do. For example, okay, I have customer data, customer demographic, I know where they live, I know their income, I know their family. Okay, I will start analyzing on that. While usually, or maybe, the problem is not revolving on the demographic data. That's why the journey starts with the analysis, and then after finding out the problem, you do the data gathering that is related to the problem we found in the first place. And then after we do the data gathering, we do more advanced analysis on qualitative or quantitative, and after that, we create a plan or a decision based on the analysis. What are the things that we want to do to improve this? Or what are the things that we want to do to solve the problem? That's why the last step is actually creating a recommendation or a business strategy in order to make data-driven decision.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Maybe we can ask Tasha as one of the a consultant with experience in managing one of the biggest airline in the world, Tasha. You know,
Yes.
if I may recall, the project at that time was talent recruitment. Yeah, so talent
Correct.
recruitment. So did you follow this journey, or you start with data gathering, or you interview like Sarah said? So how was that? How was the journey at that time?
At that time, actually, they came to us and then they say that, hey, I have a lot of data. Can you help me how to analyze this data? And then we ask them, why do you want to analyze this data? Can we see if there are problems that you want to solve? Then we can use this data to solve that problem. So we turn it back around. So the first thing that we did was we interviewed a lot of the people, and they said that, can you help us with the cabin crew? We think that there might be some problems related to decision making and the way we hire people for cabin crew. So then, okay, can we interview first your head of recruitment? Can we interview first other people related to cabin crew so that we understand better
Oh,
the
that's the first
problem?
step that you did at the time.
Yes, that's the first step.
Mm.
That's the first step. And then after that, we give them some kind of ideas of hypothesis that we think that there are several things that might be the problem. We
Okay.
present it to them, and then based on this hypothesis, then we gather the data. So we don't just gather the data first, but we see what kind of problem arise, we make the hypothesis, and then we gather the data to solve the hypothesis or to answer the hypothesis.
I see. Okay. So if I can connect that, so if I can go back a little bit. So this one is very important, yeah. This one, the soft skill. So what happen if the analyst doesn't know doesn't master all the soft skill? Do you think that they have ability to analyze? It will be tough, yeah. I think Tasha.
It will be tough because then what kind of things do they analyze? The information will be, it's like an information overload. The
Okay.
person who will be the decision maker will see all kinds of information but don't know how to make decision.
Okay. Or if they just want to master this hard skill. So what happened is that the analyst will just collect the data, like what Sarah just shared. So just collect, and then put in the Tableau, put in the Python, right, without understanding the context.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So the last slide before we open up the Q&A. So I think the three of you have quite massive experience in building analytics team, yeah. So these are three criteria that you always use: ability to explain, expand, connect. Yeah, as a key measurement of the success of the analytics team. So would you be able to share apa ini explain, expand, connect? And then why?
Okay.
Why do you want to use this? Why not like, okay, you are good in writing coding. Oh, very good. You are good in making Excel. You are good in, well, apa tuh, bikin a presentation yang fancy-fancy. So why?
Okay, so number one, ability to explain first. Why do we need the ability to explain? When we want to present the problem, when we want to present the hypothesis and all of the data, we have to be able to convince, we have to be able to give like a baseline for the people to understand, so that when I present something, the people can get that, okay, I understand what you mean. So that's ability to explain. It's basically how you can elaborate all of the concepts, the definitions, so that the people can understand. Now, second one, ability to expand. The ability to expand is related to how then we are able to give the result. So after we've explained the problem, we will show them all of our analysis, everything, right? From the charts and then the Tableau and everything. That's where the ability to expand comes in, because we have to be able to present to the people, this is the result, this is based on the problem, this is the result, and this is what we find. So when we try to expand it, of course, we will have to be able to elaborate different concepts, elaborate also how this impacts them as, let's say, a business unit, as, let's say, an operations unit. So we can relate. So explain, it means they have to understand first, expand, then they have to be able to contextualize it to their impact. What do this mean for us?
Okay. Just one last question, yeah. Okay, based on the experience. So we have this 5-step, yeah. So what happened? So what happened if, let's say, you know, in order to build analytics-driven organization, we have step 1, step 2, step 3, we have data warehouse, everything. And we don't want to build analytics team, step 4. What do you think that will happen?
If, let's say, we don't want to build an analytics team, it will be something what we call a silo or separate separate team, where they will have a lot of things that they want to do, but then in order to move forward, to create and to make an action, it will be hard, because the decision maker will get confused. So what do I need to prioritize first? They don't know how to prioritize which problem is important first, because everything is important and my problem is important.
Okay.
And it might be the information that they gathered, it might be different, because one person says A, another person says B, and no one can give us, so what is actually the truth? So this is dangerous.
Okay. And Sarah, you don't have any background, no? To you know, of your background is a Dr. Gigi, yeah. So it's a
dentistry.
How come that you become a very, very good analyst here?
Okay, I think what we have to set in mind is first the mindset first, yeah, because maybe as a person, this is about the building analytics-driven organization. That's why the first step is that the leaders must take the first step. But if we take the context into a personal analytics-driven mindset, then the first thing that you have to do, or the first step that you have to take, is to shift the mindset and embrace the change. You have to be willing to learn everything, because of course you cannot stop learning. You need to learn throughout your life, right? I mean, like, if you stop learning, then you die.
Okay.
So you need to create the mindset shift first, and then embrace the change. And then as you go on, you will train yourself to be able to learn this and that, and widen your perspective in order to put everything and internalize everything so you can apply it.
Okay, so if let's say one of the companies here wants to build analytics team, do you think they can, and they want to hire a fresh graduate, yeah? Do you think they can just go to any faculties? They don't need to go, okay, I just want to hire from, let's say, mathematician or economics, or very specific. What do you think, Sarah?
Okay, so for maybe if the company has specific background, like they want to do analysis, but specifically on financial analysis, for example, or
Mhm.
specifically on IT, then of course it's easier to hire people from the same background. But at the same time, even if they want to open this job position to all fresh graduates, no matter what their background are, what you have to what we have to learn first about the candidates, or that we have what we have to seek in fresh blood gitu ya, in fresh
Yeah.
graduate, is that their mindset itself, like Tasha already explained before, the ability to explain, the ability to expand, and the ability to connect. If
Okay.
we can make sure that these people have the those abilities, and have the uh, let's say have the minimum score, or pass the minimum score we already set, then it would be easier for the company to teach them new things.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, Tasha, we will open the Q&A, but give me just 1 minute to recap. So we have learned a lot about the 5 steps of building analytics-driven organization, and also the 4 indicators. Yeah, and then we discussed also how to build an analytics team, including the capability and also the journey. So for those who wants to follow our program, especially for House of Analytics, this is the account of Instagram, and also all the video, all the recording every Tuesday 7:30 p.m. Jakarta time is going to be uploaded into YouTube. And then if you want to go to the website, this is the website, and also email and also contact number. But the thing is that this presentation is going to be sent through email. Yeah. Okay, and then this is just a kindly reminder. If you are interested to get the e-certification, remember this is only optional. Yeah, so every Tuesday, House of Analytics has we call it talks on Tuesday, or interesting topic related to the analytics or data-driven decision making. Okay, I can just stop here. Tasha, if you want to raise a question, please feel free to
Yeah.
lead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we already have some questions, very interesting questions here, guys. I'm going to open up the floor first to ask this question to Sean. So Sean, one of our participants is currently in charge for leading the change into data-driven culture. The question is how to do the transformation when the digital literacy in the organization is not mature enough.
Okay, so when it comes to data literacy in an organization, I think when we have to think about trying to transform, we also have to think about the current culture as well as how the current organization is making decision. Now, shifting into data driven culture doesn't mean that every decision is going to be based on data. It basically means that we are trying to combine our intuitive knowledge, our experience, our assumptions with the data that we have and gathered, and to see whether when we make hypothesis or even have experience, was the decision that we make good or not? Now, when it comes to improving the digital literacy, I think it has to be taken step by step. And usually, what we start with is in the sales department, where when it comes to sales, the data tends to be very easy because sales only deals with number of customer, revenue, how many products have you sold, and with those kind of data, you can start try to bring in slowly uh, data analytics into the company. I think Ibu Sally has more experience into this because she's also the one who transformed Citibank when she was in Citibank, and also the one who's a head of decision management. Would you like to add my comments, Ibu Sally?
Oh, okay. I think you have answered all the concern there, Sean. Yeah, it's I tend to agree that the mindset has to be there first. That okay, that we want to use data and analytics to make the decision. Yeah, and in terms of the team, even though the data literacy is not there yet, but the spirit, the mindset has to have to be strong enough to start. It is okay, but the good thing is that if we learn about some companies have to start the analytics team or data driven the culture or analytics driven culture, Google, Johnson and Johnson, and also Microsoft started in a different way. For example, Google started with the experiment. Everything is all about experiment, with or without a long-term objective. It's okay. So once the first experiment is successful, then they can move on into the next experiment until the people in Google understand and accept the change. It means that making decision using analytics. But if we learn about Microsoft, when they started the analytics team, actually they started with a very, very sophisticated plan, including building governance, data security, and then also organization, who report to who. Everything has to be there. It's very comprehensive plan. Johnson and Johnson started with a pain point, which is workforce analytics. At the time they have an issue and concern wants to solve using analytics. So different company will have a different start. It's okay as long as we make the first step. That's all. The next question, silakan.
Okay. Thank you. Next question is about onboarding people. So how do you onboard people, especially how you onboard the analyst and make sure that they stick around for a long time? Okay, so a very interesting question. Thank you very much. So, if we go back to the point where we can analyze about ability to explain, ability to expand, and ability to connect, this part is about we can analyze and see their performance in dealing with pop problem. But in order to see how we can make sure that they stick around, we can use this thing called profiling or psychometric, or we can say profile assessment. What do we seek for in the profile assessment? A lot of things. One of the things that we find in our experience that makes the analyst stick for a long time with the company is about the need for variety. So what is the need for variety? It's about how they can explore a lot of problems, a lot of things in the company. How do they can explore different sets of skills? So it's not just about analyzing data, but they can also learn about how to present, and they can also explore different problems inside the company. So that's the thing about onboarding analysts, and also how do we make sure that they can stick around. Another thing that we found, what makes the analysts stick around for quite a long time, is that the leaders give them the empowerment to make decision. So for example, one of the projects that we did for one of the financial institution in building the analytics team, they give a space for the analyst to propose what kind of projects do you want to do in the next 6 months? What kind of plan do you have? They give a space for the analysts to do these kind of projects and to give proposal, to give recommendation. So that's important. Thank you very much for the question. And then another question again about this one, predictive modeling. Very interesting. How do you ensure that the predictive modeling for 5 to 10 years are valid and accurate? So Sarah, can you help to give your thoughts on this?
Okay, thank you for the question. So, of course, like maybe for a company, yeah, even like it's a big company, of course, that one of the thing that they will put in their financial report or the company report or maybe in their web is like the vision of this company in 5 years or in 10 years. It's similar to the predictive modeling. When we want to see what's in the future for us, of course, we want to see, okay, if we maintain this condition, then what will happen in the future? In 5 years, in 10 years, would we be able to grow or not? However, predictive modeling is tricky. You can make it right now and then plan for the next 5 or 10 years, but sometimes something can happen that can destroy or can disrupt your modeling, such as the COVID. Every company have their 5 years or 10 years plan. They have, okay, 2020, I want to expand. 2020, I want to create a new branch and so on and so forth. But after something unexpected happen, all those plans cannot go well. And they have to be postponed to next year or maybe even the next 2 years. So predictive modeling is basically the same. If you want to ensure the accuracy of the predictive modeling in planning 5 or 10 years ahead, then you have to keep updating it based on your current condition. By using that method, it can actually improve the accuracy of the predictive in the 5 or 10 years because the condition will be updated. It's also one of our experience is that in one of the biggest airline company where they wanted us to help them create predictive modeling and create a modeling in recruiting cabin crew. So they want to know if we recruit this type of cabin crew, would this cabin crew be able to perform very good in the future or not? However, during these past 2 or 3 years, there is a shift in the preferences of the cabin crew. Usually, in the past, they only want to see, someone who is talkative, someone who is an extrovert rather than introvert. But recently, they want to shift to someone who is more service-oriented. They don't really care whether it's introvert or extrovert, but they only want the people who are service-oriented. Of course, the pool of the talent and the source of the data is different within the 2 years. That's why we need to keep updating the modeling, the predictive modeling, in order to get the most accurate prediction for our current situation.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, Sean, I have a question for you from one of the participants. So my company has already started to concern about analytics, but still don't have a data warehouse. How do we begin to create a data warehouse? Or is there an alternative for data warehouse?
Okay, so for analytics, usually having a data warehouse helps, of course. Basically, when you have a dedicated analytics team where the analytics team would try and collect a lot of data as well as analyze a lot of data. What the data warehouse does is to help accessing the data for the analytics team, and at the same time, because the data warehouse is organized, it means that the data analytics team can also create predictive modeling or even analyze data much faster, as it's also been categorized as well as organized. So usually it's for companies that deals a lot with data. In banking, it's very common to have data warehouses, but I also understand that certain companies that are also data oriented don't have data warehouse. So how to then solve this issue? Usually if let's say you want to create a new data warehouse, what I would suggest is to understand um, what what kind of decisions that you want to use data with. For example, if currently in your organization, sales and as well as finance or even the operations, let's say if this is manufacturing, they're the departments that are using the data most of the time. And based on their decision making as well as their data, you would then try to understand, okay, so in operations, because they are collecting operational data and then they're using ABC data or XYZ data, then we need to create a data warehouses based on those data and infrastructure. And whenever you think about, okay, so this is what they use the data for, this is how they analyze it, you would then be able to understand and design the data library, how it's supposed to be structured. For example, in SQL, usually it's structured in downwards, right, or horizontally. Um, and by understanding the business use and how data is being used by every department, you would then be able to understand how you would create the data warehouse. And there needs to be a a great use of that data, because data warehouses as well is not cheap. And so you have to think about, okay, are we really going to invest in data warehouses? And we have to ensure that it's actually going to be used as well. But let's say if you don't want to create data warehouses, I think it's still okay to actually create folders, like let's say local servers or locally created folders, where you would still need to try and organize those folders as detailed as well as simple as possible, where you would also then need to understand the context of the departments itself, and try to understand, okay, so they use ABC data, and so I've already organized all the data, and whenever we manually collect it, it's already there, as well as ready to be extracted to be analyzed. So that's what I would suggest for the data warehousing.
Thank you very much, Sean. I'm going to choose one more question before we close this session. However, don't worry, all the remaining questions will be answered through your emails. So I'm going to choose this question. Can you explain more about how to infuse descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics into a decision-making process in one of your cases? So thank you very much for the question. So I will give you one of our case study from the prototype, or one of the case study that we did for one of the financial institution when we built the analytics team. So they told us that they would like to do hiring faster, because previously what they did was they used papers. A lot of the decisions was made quite long. So well, within the first, they can already hire people within the first 6 months. So quite a long time for the candidate to get offering. So within 3 months, they will do the recruitment, and then another 3 months, they will do the offering. What we proposed at that time was, okay, can we analyze first? Can we interview first the people that are involved in this process? And after that, we gathered the data. We saw the analysis of the current state of their hiring. So from the perspective of the process, the type of the people they hire, that's descriptive. So descriptive is about trying to make an analysis of current state. And then after that, we do another interview with the people, with the person who are doing the hiring. What kind of people are you looking for? So this is the part where we do prediction. It means that we try to see out of all of the people that they already hire, which ones have better prediction to become a better role model for the company. And so this is the prediction comes in. What we did was we take a look at their current people who are already hired, and then we take a look at their performance within the past 1 year. From these people, we saw that, hey, actually out of, let's say, 100 people, we can narrow the people down to only 10 who are really, really good, right? So what happens to the rest, to the 90? Now we take a look at the personality or the profile assessment. So we also gather profile assessment out of this 90, out of the 100 people. From these 90 people, we already know what makes them actually non-performer. Now we see that there are several attributes. These attributes of the non-performer we use to predict who are the people. If we were to hire new people, we don't want to hire the people who have this attribute. So those are the process of predictive. And then prescriptive analytics. This is where we give recommendation out of the people that we say that we don't want to hire. We told them that you can already see, actually this is the score. You can input these attributes into your system. So now it becomes automated. So that's the where the prescriptive analytics comes in. Okay, so I think from all of these questions, thank you very much for these questions. Don't worry, we will answer all of these questions, the remaining questions, through email. So from tonight, I would like to thank you for all of your participation, for all of your questions. Don't worry, we will give you the material and the recording after this session ends. Okay, so and then if you are interested to receive e-certificate, please click on the link that we've already sent through chat. Don't worry. So this is, of course, optional. And also, if you guys have any queries on the e-certificate, please contact our email on info@houseofanalytics.com so we can help you. Okay, so thank you very much. This is our website, our email, our contact number. If you guys have any questions related to analytics, related to building an analytics-driven organizations, please contact us through our emails, through our WhatsApp number here, through our website. And don't forget to follow our Instagram and our YouTube channel if you are interested in taking a look at our upcoming sessions. And if you guys want to learn more from our previous session, please do so, follow our Instagram and YouTube. So thank you very much, everyone. Good evening. Have a good evening. We will have another session next Tuesday. So keep track on
7:30 p.m. Yeah, 7:30
yes,
Jakarta time.
7:30 p.m. Jakarta time. Keep track of our next sessions in our Instagram. Don't hesitate to ask us through our emails.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.